some past questions. So basically on logical reasoning and variation. Okay, so before we start, I want you to get your writing materials ready because you are going to be engaging ourselves today. All right. Okay, so I want you to quickly invite your friends, tell them the class have started, and technically we'll be waiting for them. And don't also forget, if you are new on this platform, always remember that you should always give a thumb of like to the video, and also if you are new, you should subscribe to the channel so that whenever I'm on here, you'll be notified. Okay. All right. So I want you to invite your friends and let them know the class have started. So in the next few minutes, we're going to start. Okay, yes. This is the question under logical reasoning. So the first question. So I want us to see how you expected to solve this problem. And after solving, I'm going to be showing the marking guides where marks are awarded. All right. Okay. So I want to believe we have a good number of us on the platform today. You're all welcome to class. Okay, I think I can see progress. You're welcome. Bolahun, you're welcome. Who else is here? Okay, Majid, you're welcome to class. Okay, all right. Another person? Yes, once you're in the class, I want you to say hi. Let's know those that are in the class. And as you're joining the class, try and give a like to the video. All right. Okay, I think I see okay, I can see Albert. Okay, Albert is here. You're welcome to class. All right. Another person. Okay, I can see Balogun David. You're welcome to class. All right. Who else is in the class? Okay. All right. Don't forget to invite your friends. Let them know the class have started. Okay. Because of our time, I want us to quickly go through the question we have here. Now, this question is under logical reasoning. So now, let's read the question. Now, let's A be the statement that 13 is a factor of 39, and B be the statement that triangle is a quadrilateral. Now, the question says, find the truth value of negation of A or A or negation of B. All right. Roman numeral 2, write out statement negation of B. Roman numeral 3, obtain the inverse if the main theorem is A implies B. And the last one, find the truth value of negation of A implies B implies negation of A. All right, so now how do we solve this? The first thing is to find the truth value of the two statements given, statement A and statement B. So let's check out for the validity of that statement. Now, the first one, what is the validity of statement A? And what is validity of statement B? Okay, so I want you to tell me what is the validity of statement A, validity of statement B. Now, before I give you the answer, I want you to drop your own answer. What is the truth value for A and that for B? All right, so drop that and let's see what you have. Okay, so what's the truth value of A and what is the truth value for B? Okay, is anyone dropping the answer? That yes, Golan, Balogun, and others. Okay, Aishat, Marinette, you are welcome to class. All right, you can see the question I'm asking. What is the truth value to statement A and statement B? Yes. Okay, Golan. Okay, A is true, while B is false. All right. Okay, Aisha, I can see A is true and B is false. Yes, another person. Where is Balogun? Where is Majid? Yes. Okay, and Albert. Okay, thank you for that. Okay. Yes. Let's talk the answer. Yes. Okay. All right. So I can see Balogun's. Okay, Balogun is still great. Okay, yes, I can see yours. A is true and B is false. All right, because of our time, now let's attend to this. Now, 13 is a factor of 39. That is true because 13 can go completely in 39. That makes it to be a factor. So that means the statement is true. So we have T for that. And then let's look at the second statement. B, triangle is a quadrilateral. Triangle is a quadrilateral. Now, that is not true because a quadrilateral have 4 sides and 4 angles, whereas triangle has 3 sides and 3 angles. So triangle is not a quadrilateral. So it is false that triangle is a quadrilateral. So we have truth value of false. Good. So having done that, we can now proceed now to answer the first question. Now the question asks us to find the truth value of negation of A or negation of B. Now let's write it out. The first one we have negation of A or negation of B. Okay. So now what is going to be the truth value of this proposition? So we just plug in the truth value of A and B into this proposition. So this turns to negation of true. Okay, so we have replaced A with true or negation of false. All right. So negation of true, opposite of true is false. So we have F or, and we have true or true. Okay, so now we need to make use of our truth table for all. Now I think I've done that in the previous video. So if you don't really understand how we are going to do this, you have to go through my previous videos. Okay, so now true or true is going to give you true. Okay, so that means we have false or true. These are turned to true. So then false or true is what? That is true. That's true. So the result is true. Okay, so how do we award marks to this? Now for substituting correctly, there's a method mark 1 for that. And then for getting this answer, there's an accuracy mark 1. Okay, so that is 2 marks. Now let's look at the second one. We have negation of B. Negation of B. You have to write out negation of B. Now let's look at it. Statement B. Look at statement B. Triangle is a quadrilateral. Triangle is a quadrilateral. So the negation is what? Triangle is not a quadrilateral. So that's the answer to that problem. All right. So it is not. So this is going to be B1. All right. So that is that. Now let's look at the third one. Now you have to obtain the inverse if the main theorem is A implies B. Okay. Now we need to know this inverse. What is inverse? Inverse is negation of A implies negation of B. So if you don't understand how we arrived there, you have to go through my previous video and see why inverse is the same thing as negation of A implies negation of B. So I explain in details why we have that. So now inverse is negation of B, negation of A implies negation of B. Okay, so you just plug in the value of the truth value of A and that of B. Now let's plug that in. So we have negation of true implies negation of false. And that is going to give you negation of true is what? Is false. Implies negation of true. And then what will that give us? False implied true is going to give you what? That's going to give you true. That is true. So that is going to be the answer. So now, how do we award this mark? Now, for writing out that inverse is the same thing as this, so we have a method mark 1, and for getting the answer, we have a 1. So we have 2 marks for that. Okay, so now the last one, which is number 4. Yes, number 4, we have you have to find the truth value of negation of A implies B implies negation of A. Okay, so we have negation of A implies B implies negation of A. Okay, so how do we do this? Just plug in the truth value of A and B into this proposition. Now let's do that. We have negation of true implies, now B is false, implies negation of A is what? True. We have that. Okay, so now negation of true is what? False. Opposite of true is false. So we have false implies, false implies, what's negation of of true? That is false. Okay, so now this now gives you false implies. Now you need to get false imply false. What is false imply false? That gives you true. Okay, so now what is going to be false implies true? False imply true. Can you drop your answer to that? Let's see. What do you have? False imply true. What will be your answer? False imply true. So if you're in the last class, you should understand this. What is false imply true? Drop your answer in the comment section. Let's see. Let's see those that understand what we are doing. So yes, false imply true. False imply true. Yes. False imply true. Okay, I can see Bolaon's results. Yes. Okay, miracle. Yes, I can see you. You're welcome. Yes, Balogu David. Yes, that's good. True. Any other person? All right. Marinette. True. Marinette. True. Okay. All right. So you can drop your answer if you are sure of that. Okay. So why you do that? Now let's provide the answer. If you are just joining the class for the first time, okay, maybe you are just passing by, you just come across this class. Yes, I want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Okay, so what we do here is mathematics, as you can see. So subscribe so that you'll be notified whenever we're on here. And don't forget, you should also remember to give a like thumb for this class. All right, so now let's now look at it. I want to believe every one of you now gets what logical reasoning is all about, because you all got the answer. The answer is true. The answer is true. So that's good of you. So then I think that is all about the question. So how do you award marks to this? For substituting, there will be a method mark, and for getting your answer, is an accuracy mark. That. All right. So now the way we award marks in mathematics. Now, if your method mark is incorrect and your answer is correct, you won't get the answer. So you will not get the mark, sorry. Okay. So your method must be correct for you to get this answer. So because once the method is wrong, so the answer too must be wrong. So it implies each other. So your method is very, very important. So whenever you are solving problem in mathematics, I used to say several times, always try as much as possible to be simple, such a way that if a novice go through your work, he or she will be able to understand what you're doing. All right. So, okay, let's look at the total marks for this question. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have a maximum of 7 marks on that. Okay. Now, can we move down to another question? Okay. So the next question is going to be on variation. Okay, so let's move to the second question. If y varies directly as n and x is 2 when y is 4. When y is 64, when y is 64, okay, x equals to 4. Okay, find the connecting formula. Hence, find y when x equals to 36. Okay, so that is the question. All right. So yes, if you have done this question, of course, now you can drop your answer in the comment section if you have attempted this question, and you have the answer, so you can drop it. Let's see before we solve the problem together. So do you remember what do you have as a final answer? Right, to that question, what do you have as a final answer? Yes, is there anyone that wants to drop the final answer to that problem? Okay, so no problem. So let's solve it. So while we are doing that, if you remember what you have, you can drop your answer in the comment section. All right, so we have y varies directly as x to the power of n. Okay, so what's the first thing to do here? Now, you change this to an equation by introducing proportionality constants. So we have this implies that y equals to k x to the power of n, where k is a constant. Okay, you get that? Fine. So now, in the question, we are giving the value of x to be 2 and y to be 4. So let's plug this first pair here. So we have 4 equals to k times 2 raised to the power of n. Right? So you can make k to be the square root of the formula. So you divide both sides by 2 raised to the power of n. So we have 4 divided by 2 raised to the power of n equals to k. Okay, so we have an expression for k. All right. So you can now plug in the value of k into this equation. Okay. So that looks like the connecting formula, but that's not the final formula. So we have y equals to, so in place of k now, so you put 4 over 2 raised to the power of n. So we have 4 over 2 raised to the power of n times, can you see, times x raised to the power of n, x raised to the power of n. So that's what we have here. All right. So now what do we do next? Now we are given that when y is 64, x is 4. So let's plug in these two values into this equation. So we have 64 equals to 4 over 2 raised to the power of n times x is 4 raised to the power of n. Okay, so now let's tidy up what we have here. So now this is the same thing as 64 equals to 2 raised to the power of 2, which is the same thing as your 4, 2 raised to the power of 2 times 2 raised to the power of minus n times 2 raised to the power of 2n. I want to believe you understand what I'm doing here. Okay, now this 4 is this. Now look at this. This is 2 raised to the power of n. You can see where we have it now is in the denominator. So when you bring it up, you introduce a negative. And so we have negative n. Okay, so we have this as 2 raised to the power of 2. That's 4. Already we have n. So we have 2 raised to the power of 2n. All right. So now let me express this to as a power of 2. So we have 2 raised to the power of 6. Now you can join these together. When multiplying and we have same base, we add the powers together. So this is going to be 2 raised to the power of 2. Now look at this. Minus n plus 2n. That gives you what? When you add the two together, that gives you 1n. Minus 2n plus 2n. That gives you 1n. So I have plus n. And here, since the bases are equal, you can equate the powers. So we have 6 equals to 2 plus n. Here we collect the like terms. So let's transpose this 2 here. So we have 6 minus 2 equals to n. So n is what? 4. So the value of n is 4. Good. So we can now get the connecting formula. Look at what we have here. So this is what we are writing. So we just replace this n with 4. So let's write it out. So we have y equals to 4 over 2 raised to the power of 4, okay, dot x raised to the power of 4, because n is 4. Now let's look at this. Now this is y equals to 4 over, now 2 raised to the power of 4 is what? That's 16. 2 times 2, 4, times 2, 8, times 2, 16. So we have 16 times x raised to the power of 4. Okay, so now if we continue, now you can simplify this. 4 goes there 1, 4 goes there 4. So what we are left with now is x raised to the power of 4 over 4. So we have y equals to x raised to the power of 4 over 4 is the connecting formula. So this is what the question requested for. So y equals to x raised to the power of 4 over 4 is the connecting formula. Now let's see. The question now says ends. That means from the final answer we have there, find y when x is 36. So when x is 36, so we plug in 36 here, we have y equals to 36 raised to the power of 4 all over 4. Okay, so that is what we have. So you can leave your answer this way because this is going to be a very big number. So you can leave your answer this way. So this is going to be the answer to the problem. Fine. So how do we award marks to this question? Now for plugging in the value, the first set of values of x and y, so there's a method mark for that. And getting an expression for k, you have P1. All right. Now for plugging in the next set of x and y, that is 64 and 4. Okay, we have a method mark 1 for that. And for solving, you have a method mark. And for getting n to be 4, we have A1. Okay, so now for getting the connecting formula, now look at it now, because you plug in the value of n here. So finally you have the connecting formula. So for getting that, you have A1. Now for substituting, you have M1 A1. So that's going to be the answer to that, the marks to the question. So how many marks altogether? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 marks altogether. 8 marks. So that is how marks will be awarded to that question. All right. So I want to believe You guys have the correct answer. Okay, I want to see, is there anybody that have the answer? Okay, nobody. Okay, so all right, so I can see someone with 41,900. Okay, no, 419 and 904. Okay, no problem. All right, so now let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on to another question. Okay, the third one, the volume V of a gas varies jointly as the pressure P and the temperature. T. Now, if the pressure is increased from 4 units to 6 units, and the temperature is increased from 10 units to 15 units. And the volume increases by 240 centimeter cube. Find the original volume. All right, that's good. Now, this is another question, but before we solve, if you are just new on this platform, I want to encourage you to click on your notification button, and also don't forget to tap the like button. All right, okay, so now let's look at this question. Now, the volume V of a gas varies jointly as the pressure and the temperature T. If the pressure increases by 240 centimeter cube, find the original volume. So how do we solve this problem? Now, I already have the idea of the variation. Now, the question is saying the volume of a gas, V, varies jointly as pressure and temperature. So that's the first thing I'm writing. And let me write that. We have V varies jointly as pressure P and temperature T. So this implies that V equals is a constant. Okay, so this is the first thing to do. Now, when you now go through the question says if the pressure is increased from 4 units to 6 units, that is, this is the original pressure and this is the new pressure. Okay, and the temperature is increased from 10 units to 15 units. This is original units, the temperature, and this is the new temperature. That is done. What happens to the volume? The volume increases by 240 centimeter cube. So the question now is find the original volume. So how do we do this? Now the first thing is let us write out the original pressure and the original temperature. Now in this question, the original pressure is 4 units. Original the new temperature, okay, the new temperature is 15, while the original temperature is 10 units. Okay, I hope you understand that because it's from 10 units to 15 units. Okay, so now let's write out the original and let's call the original P1. That's the original, which is what? 4 units, and PT1 is what? The original temperature is 10 units. Okay, so now what do we do now? We plug in these values into this equation. So we have the original volume. The original volume is V1 equals to A. P is what? 4. And the T is what? 10. We have 10. So when you multiply, you have original volume V1 is going to be 40K. All right, so that's the first thing to do. Now let us now get the new pressure, the new temperature, and we now relate that with the change in volume. Okay, so now we are given that P2, which is the new pressure, is going to be what? 6. So we have 6. Now the new temperature is what? Is 15, from 10 to 15. So we have that to be 15. Okay. Now V2, that is the new volume. We don't know what the new volume is. And that's what we're going to get now. And let's plug in these values into this equation. So we have V2 equals to P times P2. P2 is 6, that's times 6. And T, that's T2, that's 15. Okay, so when you multiply together, you have what? 90K. All right, so we now have the new volume. This is the old volume, the initial volume, or we say original volume. This is the new volume. Okay, so but the question now states that the volume increases by this. That is, the change in volume is 240. So we have V2 minus V1 equals to what? 240. So that's what the question is saying. All right. So can we plug in the values of V2 and V1? So we have V2 is 90K minus 40K equals to 240. So when you subtract, you have what? 50K equals to 240. Now let's divide both sides by 10. So we have K equals to 24 over 5. So that is K. Just divide both sides by 5. All right. So now we have K now. Don't forget, we want to get the original volume. That's what the question wants us to get. So now in what you have written here, what is the original volume? Original volume is represented with V1. So V1 equals to 40K. So V1 equals to 40 times What is K? K is what? 24/5. Right? So, and then we have V1 equals to 5 goes here 1, 5 goes here 8. All right, so now we have 8 times 24. Okay, so what do we have? So now let's multiply. We have V1. 8 times 4 is 32. We write 2. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 plus 3, that's 19 centimeter cube. So this is going to be the original volume. So this is the original volume. Okay, so that is how to answer that question. So how do we award marks? Now the first thing, for plugging in the values of initial pressure and the initial temperature, we have M1. And for getting this, we have A1. Here as well, M1, A1. Okay. For subtracting, showing this subtraction, we have M1. And for getting K to be 24/5, we have A1. Okay, so now plugging in the value of K into this expression, or this equation, sorry, to this equation, so we have M1, and for getting the correct answer, we have A1. So that is how to award marks. So how many marks all together? I think that is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 marks. 8 marks all together. Okay, so yes, I want to believe you are getting the explanation. All right, so let's look at the last question here. Let's look at the last question here. So this question is on the partial variation. So let's see, how do we solve this type of problem? All right, yes. Now this is another question. This question is under partial derivation. So let's see how do we solve this type of problem. So I want you to look at the question. Yes, does it look like what you can solve? Okay, now let's look at the question together. Now the distance d covered by a curve varies partly as the time t and partly as the square of t. If t equals to 90 kilometer when t is okay, I think this is supposed to be d and not t. If d equals to 90 kilometer when t is 2 hours and d equals to 200 kilometer when t is 4 hours, find the relation between d and t and the distance covered in 5 hours. So how do we answer this problem? All right, so let's look at the relationship between d and t. The question says distance d covered by a curve varies partly as time t. So that means it's equals to t. You introduce proportionality constant. Let's say that is a, okay, and means plus partly as the square of t. So and also with square of t. So we also introduce another constant b. We say a and b are constants. They are constants. All right, so the next thing is to plug in the values of d and t. We have two pairs here. So the first pair is d is 90 kilometers and the t is 2 hours. Now let's plug in these two values into this equation. So we have 90, in place of d, we put 90 equals to, now t is 2 hours. So we have 2a plus 2 square b. Can you see that now? Good. So now the next thing is to divide through by 2. So to make the equation simple, divide this by 2, 45 is the answer, equals to divide 2a by 2, a is the answer. Divide this by 2, we have 2b. So we call this one equation 1. Okay, now let's look at the next pair. So we have d is 200 and t is 4 hours. So now let's plug in these two values into this equation. So we have 200 equals to t is 4. We have 4a plus 4 square b. Okay, so now we can simplify this as well. So let's divide through by 4. So when you divide this by 4, you have 50 equals to divide this by 4, you have a. So divide this by 4, you have 4b. So let's call this equation 2. Now we subtract equation 1 from 2 or vice versa. So now 45 minus 50 or 50 minus 45. Let's say 50 minus 45, we have 5. Okay, a minus a, that's 0. 4b minus 2b, that is 2b. So that implies that b equals to 5 over 2 when you divide both sides by 2. All right. Okay, so now let's get the value of a. So let's plug in the value of b into any of the equation. Let's say equation 1. So we have 45 equals to a plus 2 open bracket 5 over 2. Okay, so that has replaced the b here. So 2. So now these two will cancel these two. So we have 45 equals to a plus 5. So you can subtract 5 from both sides. So we have 45 minus 5 equals to a. So a is what? A is 40. So we now have the two proportionality constants. So we can plug in those values into the equation we have on top. So we have d equals to, now we have a to be what? 40. So we have 40t. You get that? Okay. Plus, now what is b? B is 5 over 2. So this is going to be 5t squared over 2. All right. So this is the equation that relates D and T. Okay, that is the first part of the question. And now let's look at the second part of the question. You have to find the distance covered in 5 hours. Okay, so we have D. So when T is 5 hours, okay, so we have 40 times 5 plus 1 bracket 5 squared, okay, over 2. Right, so what do we have when you do this? So this one gives you what? 200. We have D equals to 200. Okay, now 5 times 5 times 5, that's plus 125 over 2. Okay, so now, and this gives you 200 plus 5 goes in 12, that's 2 goes in 12, that's 6. 2 goes in 5, that is 2 and 1. So we have this. So let's add this together. We have 262 and R, or 262.5. Now, the question is not correct until you pull the unit, because we're talking about distance. So you have D is 262.5 kilometers, or you write it as 262.5 kilometers. So this is going to be the answer to the problem. Okay, so how do we award marks to this question? Now, the first thing is for substituting into this equation. So we have B1. The same thing for the second one, we have B1. For solving the equations, we have M1. For getting this, we have A1. For plugging the value of B into the equation, any of the equation, either 1 or 2, we have M1. And for getting A to be 40, we have A1. Getting the connecting formula, we have A1. Now, for plugging in the values of, or the value of T, that is 5 hours. That was given in the question. So we have M1. And for getting the answer, either this or this, with units, we have A1. So that is the marks for the question. Can we add everything together? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 marks all together. Okay, so you guys have tried for being in the class so far. So we're going to be ending the class for today. All right, so tomorrow is another day. I'm going to be treating another topic tomorrow. So I want you to get yourself ready and also inform your classmates in your school about this class. Let them come. Let's have good number of students on this platform. So let's share ideas together. Okay, good. And don't forget, if you are new on the platform, you have to subscribe. Ensure you do that now. Okay, so and also give a like to this video. All right, so that is all for today. So I enjoy you guys. Thank you very much for joining the class. Bye bye.